What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So, as of yesterday, we have been given a pretty significant clue here towards some new content in the Hunter Call of the Wild. Now, it is likely that this is going to be announced this Tuesday, but as of right now, we have a clue that basically tells us it has something to do with Hirschfelden and Awaroa, so Germany and New Zealand. What does this mean? Well, right off the bat, there are a few things that come to mind, similarities between these two maps, species on the two maps, things that we can look at right off the bat here, but there are some other things too. If you start to think outside the box a little bit, there are some other things that these two maps and these two regions in the world do also have in common that this clue could be pointing towards. In this video, I'm going to go over those things. We're going to talk about the newest clue. We're going to talk about the new content. Exciting stuff, guys. I'm feeling the hype. If you enjoy the video, drop a like on it and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. But without further ado, let's jump into it. All right, so first things first, I'm going to jump straight into it here. Hirschfelden and Awaroa. What do we think right off the bat? Well, there's three species in common on these two maps. We've got fallow deer, we've got red deer, we've got European rabbits. Let's talk about fallow deer first. If we're looking at a new great one, which we very well could be, is it going to be a fallow deer great one? A fallow deer great one would mean two more maps in the Hunter Call of the Wild with a great one. A lot of people, a lot of players would love a fallow deer great one. I'm one of those people. If I had to pick between red deer or fallow deer, I don't know which one I would pick. I do love the thought of a red deer great one. That would mean 4 additional maps with a great one, bringing it to 6 out of 10 maps with a great one, which I think would just be huge for the game. I think that would create a ton of hype. The red deer is very iconic as far as Call of the Wild goes. It has always been an iconic, a very popular species in the game. I think it would be a good pick. My guess, long before this for the next great one, has always been red deer. So I would not be surprised if that's what we're getting if this new content is a great one. Now, the European rabbits. I don't honestly think that the European rabbits have anything to do with this new content, but you never know. Call of the Wild has been known to try to throw us in the wrong direction. Misdirection is a thing with these clues. If it does have something to do with the European rabbits, I don't know what that would be. I feel like it would not be directly European rabbits themselves, but maybe something that they represent. But in the grand scheme of things, I don't think this is going to have anything to do with the European rabbits. That's just my guess, and I'm going to look kind of silly if I'm wrong. But moving on from that, I want to talk about some of the things that maybe aren't so obvious that these two maps have in common. Now, we all know that chamois exist in Awaroa, but what maybe a lot of us don't know, and I actually didn't know before researching, alpine chamois also exist in the Black Forest of Württemberg, Germany. Now, the thought of them dropping another species on Hirschfelden, it's hard to say whether or not that might be a thing, but if it is, they could bring chamois there. Chamois aren't the most popular species in the game, but it would be interesting to see whether chamois would be the animal that they would add to the game if they were going to add another species in Hirschfelden. It is hard to say, but that is something to take into account. As far as a new great one goes, if this new content is a new great one, and I am leaning towards it I think it probably is going to be a new great one. And if it is, I'm thinking it's probably going to be between red deer and fallow deer. Both of those options are just so perfect. I would not be disappointed in the least with either of those. A red deer great one would be absolutely incredible. They are incredible animals. I don't know if you guys have ever seen pictures of non-typical red deer, but they are absolutely stunning. And same goes with fallow deer. I would be elated. I would be absolutely over the moon if either of these species are introduced as the next great one in the Hunter Call of the Wild. But another thing I want to talk about, and another similarity, another possibility with this, and something that I've been thinking about since yesterday when this was announced, is the possibility of a great one moose. Now, Expansive Worlds held a poll yesterday on their YouTube. We talked about this yesterday in yesterday's video. They held a poll asking viewers and players what they would choose as a species for the next great one if they could choose the next great one species in the Hunter Call of the Wild. The choices were red deer, moose, mule deer, and scrub hare. Now, moose was included in that poll. Something we have to keep in mind is moose exist in Germany. Lots of moose, tons of moose throughout Germany. But there's also something really interesting that we should probably talk about that pertains to moose in New Zealand. Now, since Awaroa's release, I have heard of several instances from viewers. Oh, did I use the wrong gun? I totally did. Clipped the lung? No, I don't think I got through to it. That's okay. It's only level 1. Let's just put it down. Shooting bison with an M1. Let's go, baby. instances of people seeing moose in Te Awaroa. I've never seen one myself. I've never seen a screenshot, but I've had several different people tell me they have seen moose. And this is aside from the mocha moose in the mission in Te Awaroa. This is actually sightings of apparent actual just regular moose in Te Awaroa, New Zealand. Now it's interesting to think about that because there's kind of an interesting story that could go along with this. If they are making moose on Te Awaroa an extremely rare spawn, perhaps, it would be really interesting if that's something that they're doing. I'm going to read an excerpt here from Wikipedia, something I found about moose that pertains to moose in New Zealand. This is really interesting. In 1900, an attempt to introduce moose into the Hokitika area failed. Then in 1910, 10 moose, 4 bulls, and 6 cows were introduced into Fiordland. This area is considered less than suitable habitat, and subsequent low numbers of sightings and kills have led to some presumption of this population's failure. The last proven sighting of a moose in New Zealand was in 1952. However, a moose antler was found in 1972, and DNA tests showed that hair collected in 2002 was from a moose. There has been extensive searching, and while automated cameras failed to capture photographs, evidence was seen of bedding spots, browsing, and antler marks. So there is some interesting lore here as far as moose and New Zealand go. Now, wouldn't it be interesting if all this time moose have actually existed in Te Awaroa as an extremely rare spawn? And what if the idea now is that they're going to add moose to both Te Awaroa and Hirschfelden, as well as give us a Great One moose? So this is going a little bit further down into the rabbit hole than I usually go as far as conspiracies are concerned, as far as the clues go, but I just think this could be a thing, and if it is, that would just be so cool. What if they're thinking of adding moose to these two maps and giving us a Great One moose? It's an interesting thing to think of. That's pretty much going to wrap up the video. That's pretty much everything that I've been able to come up with as far as what this clue could pertain to. I'm thinking it's probably going to be a great one, maybe red deer or fallow deer. That's what I'm leaning towards. But this whole moose idea really has me intrigued, and I don't think it's a far stretch. I don't think it's impossible. And if that's what they're doing, that is so cool. I would love a Great One moose. I know a lot of people would. I think it's still winning the poll from yesterday. A lot of people would love to see Great One moose, and if that's something they were going to do, if that's what they got up their sleeve, man, that would be so cool. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. What do you guys think we're getting for the new content? Do you think it's a Great One fallow? Do you think it's a Great One red deer? Do you think it has something to do with the European rabbits? Let me know down in the comments. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let's get the conversation rolling. I'm feeling the hype. I'm loving feeling the hype around this new content that's coming to the Call of the Wild. Super stoked to talk with you guys about it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. A lot of awesome content on the way for you guys. Feel free to join the Discord if you haven't already. Take care, you guys. Be safe. And as always, I will see you guys in the next one.